for perhaps one of the most important announcements you have ever heard. I'm giving you the free night that I just authorized, spoken over this medium. I urge, however, that you do not wander in any way out of the central area of the community and keep a strict curfew after the entertainment. We have no question now that our ex-members are being funded and our CIA connected. But if you were to make the mistake to assume that you could go up to one of these people, they might kill you. Do not think that they would interpret you as a friend no matter what you said. They are highly paranoid, extremely vicious, filled with a raging hate, because that's what comes from guilt. Our infiltrator has informed us that they have dreams almost nightly. They have dreams almost nightly to the last person. And they have guilt, tremendous guilt.
Welcome back to Transmissions from Jonestown. You're listening to Episode 2, Life in the Promised Land. Jim Jones' sudden relocation to the jungles of Guyana caused a mass exodus of several hundred People's Temple members. The population of Jonestown exploded from about 50 people to over 900 in just a few months. Jonestown didn't have the resources and couldn't build the facilities it needed for so many new residents. There wasn't enough food, bathrooms, fresh water, or medicine. But this didn't matter to the loyal PT members that sold all of their possessions and made the trek. They believed Father was finally leading them to the Holy Land. Guyana, located in South America, has a wealth of aluminum and gold mines. Historically, the Orinoco River is a national treasure of mineral resources. But Guyana's harsh environment with its unpredictable tropical rains and difficult soil make growing food challenging to even the most experienced farmer. Unfortunately, in Jonestown, farmers and agricultural specialists were in short supply. Though their intentions were pure, a community cannot be fed on faith and determination alone. The roads, painstakingly carved out of the jungle, were impossible to maintain, making Jonestown an extremely isolated place, accessible only by boarding a boat or small airplane and landing in nearby Port Kaituma, then braving a bumpy 7-mile ride through the jungle. As people arrived in Jonestown, any illusion of paradise was quickly dashed. Personal items were immediately confiscated to be added to the central supply. As a pure socialist society, everyone would share everything. The food was sparse, usually rice and cassava. The sick were allowed 1 egg per day. Everyone got an egg on Sundays. A defector wrote that the food smelled of chemicals. Chemicals, the kitchen claimed, kept everyone from catching malaria. Workdays in Jonestown were long, hot, and filled with arduous labor, planting and maintaining fields and clearing out jungle to expand Jonestown. The low-protein diet and mysterious chemicals in the food made it difficult to keep a clear mind while living in Jonestown. Jonestown had a system of broadcasting audio that could be heard all over the settlement. Sometimes Jones would talk for hours reading the news or giving assignments, or pre-recorded tracks would be looped over and over. His voice was often slurred and his speech patterns confused. His mind was slipping, and oh, how he could ramble on.
So I'm asking you to be extremely careful. Do not wander out where the terriers are. They get them. We advise you to follow that procedure 1,000%. Thank you very much. Sunday news. The gold medal car. The latest. Everybody's supposed to be taught the world over that everyone wants to go to USA, and we turned around and went the opposite direction, and that's not allowed. Cooperate in the most extensive way process, maintaining the beauty of our project. We have distinguished people, agricultural specialists coming from about the world. Stories are heralded across press that we have bazookas and heavy artillery, hundreds of guns, hundreds. Well, whatever.
Another gold model went to a turbo city.
But I am damn tired. One thing infuriates me, causes me to go up like a rocket, makes my temperature rise, makes me angry in hell, is when somebody uses my name so that they cannot work or do something basing upon my name. I am not a bit afraid to take on all the devils of hell, much less human beings. I love you. You've done a lot of good work. Don't use me as a cop-out, by God, and nobody else ever use my name as an excuse for not working when I haven't said one damn word.
Being treated something like automatons. I don't want any more of these snide remarks. You can't afford it. I can understand it, but I have to be a source of responsibility and leadership.
Continue to put your reports in, but don't burden me, don't asinine, long letters. You can get your questions to me, suggestions to me, but don't give me any suggestions about Solomon's. Do you have concern? Do you have care? What's in your heart? What kind of feelings do you have? While people are studying language at People's Rally at 7:30, I shall be conducting a series of those who have been causing work problems and discipline problems. They're a minority, but they shall be dealt with.
Attention. I'm asking for the closest scrutiny of my food. I was attempted to be poisoned last evening. I am accustomed to hostility, but I am also the benefactor of 1,200 people here, and I will not sit back and allow this kind of thing. So I am demanding that my food be watched under the closest of scrutiny.
Princeton, not turning me off means 15 hours of time for your own creative work. If you turn me off and fail to listen to the news, you will have 5 extra classes of 3 hours each.
Okay, what shall I ask? I don't know what happened with the news. Where's the last year? We've covered a lot of news. Where is my...
About the necessary security, no bearing messages, giving messages to anyone privately, by orders of the foreign minister, no receiving of messages or bearing of letters or tapes. The Deputy Prime Minister told me read of this country says the CIA is back in full bloom, doing all of its cloak and dagger work once again in the Caribbean and in Africa. We are free here. We have something to fight for, something to live for, and if necessary, something to die for.
Jones claimed to be very sick with several illnesses. He said he had contracted a rare fungal disease in his lungs due to the jungle conditions. He believed, due to his ailments, that he was slowly dying. His personal nurse was constantly attending him, giving him milkshakes and various medications for his heart, amongst other things. Barbiturates by night and amphetamines by day. The habit had begun long ago, helping Jones get through long hours of running People's Temple. But now in his desolate jungle kingdom, seated on his patio chair in the pavilion, he just didn't have anywhere to be, or much of anything to do. The restless boredom and all-consuming paranoia made for many terrifying white nights.
They tell the most horrible tales. They whip up dreams of madness out of their own nightmares and evil souls. If they come in here by night, they are finished. Thank you. Much love.
A day fraught with tragedy and doom is known as a Black Day. Jim Jones thought this was racist, so Jonestown's bad days were called White Nights. Usually lasting for several hours, White Nights were held in the pavilion where Jones ranted on the microphone. Sometimes he would order his men into the jungle to fire rifles into the air, and the settlement would be told they were under attack. Armed with guns and crossbows, they would take their defensive positions, crouched on the jungle floor for hours, waiting for a firefight that never came.
Who in the hell wouldn't be ready for a white night? Don't I'd like for one to come and not pass. How do you feel about it? You may die tonight.
Dad, from 68 to 69, the captain sent me to Vietnam to fight a war that I didn't know anything about. You have saved my life so many times, Dad. Now I don't have no life of my own. I'm living on your time. I would die for you right now, Dad. I'm willing to face the front line with you right now. Thank you, Dad.
Since I've been here, all I've seen is the beauty of socialism, and I feel that my life is fulfilled. And if death comes, it's no big deal to me because I've already lived my life just being here with the family.
I'm prepared to die for this family if I have to for freedom. Thank you, Dad.
Would you like her to be drinking by the fascists then?
And hold it now. He worked out on a sensitive point that maybe you think about it. They brought up a sensitive question, and you may not understand the gravity of that question, but all of our children have faced this. We went through white nights, so they'll not be hurt by it. We haven't had any child causing us any difficulties by facing this kind of thought.
Jerry, the question would be, if the fascists were coming up the road right now, and we were going to lay down our lives and fight for it, you say you would give your life for your child's, but would you leave it for the fascists to have? What would you do in that case?
Came to that, I would have to take her life.
Fine. You understand that? You understand that? Well, but she's so old, she'd fight. How old is your child?
11.
And she passed the age. We fight at 11. It's under that, but we consider that. She would take up a cutlass and fight till she was dead. Unless it came to an overwhelming invasion, then we would gently put them to sleep, which we have, where they never know what hit them. We are already prepared for that. A people who are really loving and a father who's genuinely compassionate is prepared for all such emergencies.
Another common theme of these meetings involved horrific beatings of People's Temple members. Anyone who showed any form of dissension was punished. If you complained about the work, you would be assigned to the learning crew for months at a time, performing all the worst duties, working the longest hours, and enduring constant harassment. If a small child defied the rules, there were punishments designed for small offenders. The child would be lowered into a deep dark well, head first, where a ghoulish disciplinarian would dunk their heads under the water and terrify them. If you tried to run away, they would lock you in a box, buried underground.
I'd just like to say about that comment I made that only intellectuals like me can
understand it.
I wasn't really referring to the group that I felt that I was smarter than anyone else.
You'll be moving in with Brother Bikeman, and you won't be very well for a while. And I hope that you learn, because I have to exert my power with a sense of justice and will, because you have stepped too far. It's time you knew what Marx and Lenin and all of those thoughts, comparable thinkers have to say about present conditions. And I expect him to do his study and his homework in the introduction of socialism. I expect you to do it. When you are back in good health, I expect you to be on the job and doing your task when you are back in good health.
He said, I really want to get away from here, and by Christmas I will be gone.
That may be true. That may be true. By Christmas, do you want to be gone? By Christmas, do you want to be gone? By Christmas, do you want to be gone?
I would ask you, could I go home to make a trip to see my people?
I have the power to send you home by Christmas, but it's not on Transworld Airlines.
You just take anything and make a big thing out of it.
That's not a big thing. That's blasphemy. It's blasphemy. It's blasphemy. It's blasphemy. It's blasphemy to talk about going back when you have not been given any approval. Now, if I cease meditating for you, you won't need to go home. Do you want to go home?
Oh.
Well, then be seated and shut your mouth and don't be in my face anymore. He said Father'd put him back together if he got cut up with a tiger. Is that what you guys are counting on? Well, Leela Murphy was not as nice as she should be, and I didn't put her back together, and she's down there in a box under the ground.
Right.
Why should you maintain an 84-year-old woman who won't even show a proper understanding or gratitude or follow instructions? Why? And she costs more than her income.
There are many stories about Jonestown and what caused such a large group of people to choose death over any other alternative. For me personally, the story of Eugene gives me a unique perspective. I'd like to share that with you now. Eugene had a wife and 2 children. He went to UCLA and earned a law degree. He joined People's Temple with his family in 1972 in search of an alternative lifestyle away from the rat race. Because of his law degree, he was an invaluable resource for the People's Temple. Eugene worked hard for the temple, donating his legal expertise in matters of child custody and real estate deals. Tim and Grace Stone were loyal members of the People's Temple and the Inner Circle. Tim was Assistant DA of Mendocino County and a close confidant of Jim Jones. Legend has it that Tim and his wife Grace asked Jim Jones to give them a son, as Tim could not sire children. So Jim Jones, being a loving father, obliged and impregnated Grace. She had a healthy baby boy named John. But that's only one version of this story.
Some years ago, Assistant District Attorney, who was a member of our church, Timothy Stone, came to me and stated that his wife was quite likely to commit treason. I had known prior to this time that his wife, Mrs. Stone, seemed to have some sexual interest in me. He confirmed that matter and asked me to try to keep her in our church by that means. Out of this unholy union came a beautiful son.
2 weeks after John was born, Tim signed an affidavit stating that Jim Jones was the biological father of John. Soon after, Grace defected from the People's Temple and started a legal battle for her son, now claiming that Jones was not John's father. Tim fought for the custody of John alongside Jones for a while, hiding John in Jonestown to avoid being taken away. Tim was also sent to Jonestown, but after spending some time there, he decided to leave the temple and join his wife in her custody battle. Now this left Eugene to fight the custody battle for John. A San Francisco court ordered that Grace should have custody of John, so Tim traveled to Guyana to get him. In Jonestown, this caused a massive crisis that lasted 6 days. It was known as the 6-Day Siege, in which Jim Jones threatened that if anyone tried to enter Jonestown to remove John, the entire settlement would commit mass suicide.
The Minister of Justice can stop this from happening. He will not allow any of our people to be taken. And of course we cannot wait here endlessly, because we have only so much food and so much resources. People have lived by pacifism, but we do have the right to die, and everyone made that decision.
We would like to address ourselves to a point that has been raised, it seems, about some statement supposedly issued officially by People's Temple, but whose authorship we here are unaware of, to the effect that we prefer to resist harassment and persecution, even if it means death. Those who are lying and slandering our work here, it appears, are trying to use this statement against us. We are not surprised. Do you copy? However, it would seem that any person with any integrity or courage would have no trouble understanding such a position. Do you copy? Dr. Martin Luther King reaffirmed the validity of ultimate commitment when he told his freedom riders, quote, "We must develop the quiet courage of dying for a cause," close quote. And we, likewise, affirm that before we will submit quietly to the interminable plotting and persecution of this politically motivated conspiracy, we will resist actively, putting our lives on the line if it comes to that. Do you copy?
They will very shortly.
They will hear the statements from the people very shortly. I am almost finished. This has been the unanimous vote of the collective community here in Guyana. We choose as our model not those who marched submissively into gas ovens, but the valiant heroes who resisted in the Warsaw Ghetto. Patrick Henry captured it when he said simply, "Give me liberty or give me death." If people cannot appreciate that willingness to die if necessary, rather than to compromise the right to exist, free from harassment and the kind of indignities we have been subjected to, then they will never understand the integrity, the honesty, in the bravery of People's Temple, nor the depth of commitment of Jim Jones to the principles he has struggled for all his life.
During the 6-day siege, Jones talked about moving the entire community to Cuba or even Russia. In the radio room in Jonestown, messages from Angela Davis and Huey P. Newton broadcast over the loudspeaker in support of their community's sovereignty. The Guyana government received hundreds of letters and messages pleading with them to stop the persecution of the People's Temple or suffer the consequences. Finally, Jones called a white night. He had the pavilion flanked with armed guards. A poison potion was once again served to the people, and they were told to drink. Eugene watched in horror as his children drank the liquid, only to be told after that it was all a test of loyalty, and Jonestown would live to fight another day. Eugene decided then and there he was done with this crazy place.
Talking about death, dying, tongue hanging out, choking. All I do. It should ought to be. Too serious about the fucking subject. Get all nervous. You're gonna die someday, honey. You old bitch, you're gonna die.
Guyanese officials eventually revoked Tim's visa and sent him home without John. But Tim wasn't going to give up. Tim never did get John back, but he did become one of the most effective members of the Concerned Relatives group. Eugene left Jonestown and the People's Temple behind, desperately trying to convince his family to follow him. But to his dismay, Eugene's wife was on the medical team in Jonestown, and she was unshakably loyal. Many years after the massacre at Jonestown, a letter was found written by Eugene's wife, Phyllis, to Jim Jones. I'll read it to you now. Dad, the very people who resist revolutionary suicide because they want to save their asses would make excellent captives for the enemy. Though the strongest might kill themselves before being taken, the weakest, no matter what they might say in public meetings, would not kill themselves and would be the first to talk. We will prepare the people by reading the words of strong, assertive revolutionaries of the past who took this choice over the PA system. We will meet in the pavilion surrounded with highly trusted security with guns. Names will be called off randomly. People will be escorted to a place of dying by a strong personality who is loving, supported, but non-sympathetic. They are accompanied by 2 strong security men with guns. I don't trust people to arrange their own deaths, but can be arranged by outside pressure and no alternatives left open. At the place of dying, they are shot in the head, and if Dr. Larry Schock does not believe they are definitely dead, their throat is slit with a scalpel. I would be willing to help here if necessary. The bodies would be thrown in a ditch. It might be advisable to blindfold the people before going to the death place, and that the blood and body remains on the ground might increase the agitation. She convinced Eugene to come back to Jonestown and stop causing trouble. All would be forgiven and he could be reunited with his children. When Eugene arrived back in Jonestown, he was treated like a dangerous enemy. They drugged him with Thorazine and buried him in a box underground.
So you tell us what it was. Because the purpose of the box is to get us together, not to punish. Do you understand? That's what you must see. We want you to know you, to find the better you.
Once Eugene had achieved a zombie-like state, he was taken to the extended care unit where his wife would look after him and keep him on ice, so to speak. Eugene died on November 18, 1978, having committed suicide along with the rest of the community. Anyone who really knows what happened the last day of Eugene's life is dead, but I know he didn't have a choice. How many of them had a choice?
Now get your ass up here or you will regret it. There'll be nothing more than a discussion with you now. But if there is any delay past that minute, then I'll do with you what I want to do with you. What I must do to you. You better be on your goddamn feet. Try to play, have fun. It's you that you're playing with, and it won't be a sudden death. You'll wonder for a long time what's taking place.
The Concerned Relatives group believed that People's Temple members were being held against their will in Jonestown. They urged law enforcement to investigate church funds and whether or not human rights were being violated. They even hired a private investigator, Joseph Mazer, to figure out a plan to get John out of Jonestown. Mazer was an ex-convict and an extremely shady fellow. He claimed during his investigation into People's Temple that he was being paid by the Concerned Relatives group and the FBI. Jim Jones feared Mazer was CIA, What the concerned relatives in Mazer had agreed to do about the children in Jonestown remains a mystery, but allegedly, the plan was to get John and several other people out of Jonestown by any means necessary, even if that meant kidnapping children in the cover of night, assassinating Jim Jones, or an all-out clandestine war in the middle of the jungle.
We can only be hurt from within. Going out and doing something, lying like the Williamses, that kind of stuff, doing a lot of devious work like that. We can ride over a lot of that too, so don't get too cocky. And believe me, the next person does that shit ain't gonna get by. And I don't think we'll kill you. I think we'll kidnap you and bring you over here for a trial. You say we can't do it. You don't know. If Tim Stone knew how many people were watching him right now, he would have a baby through his asshole. He hasn't made a move in the United States that hasn't been somebody on his bottom side. Just waiting. If he knew how much people were watching him. I know Tim Stone. He'd turn whiter than he is. They're just waiting. All I need is just one signal. Go thou send me. That's not the word. Now, obviously. I'm talking in the proverbs of those that would understand. All I need to hear is to say, it's it. It's a white knight. It's it. Get our enemies, and there'll be 200-300 people on those sons of bitches faster than honey. Yeah, the flies on a honey. You bet your life. They'll be on them. They'll get them. They won't get away, and I don't know why you think you'd get away. Why should you? It's immoral to destroy an organization like this. It's immoral to try to kill a movement where a leader cares so infinitely as he cares and tries to build a structure of caring. It's immoral. It's criminal. And you should get it, goddamn you.
Strange as it may seem, Joseph Mazer visited Jonestown. He claimed to have abandoned his mission to attack the compound and warned Jonestown of an imminent attack.
Attention, attention. Be sure that you recognize that the distinguished guests come in tomorrow, and the agent provocateur who has stepped forward out of fear for his life, and he says that even though he wasn't a socialist, he could not condone kidnapping, murder, mercenary actions. As you know, he has indicted several of our ex-members as being CIA. There are a number of questions we will wish to ask him. Why it was that he told Carol Dennis that I would be assassinated, and moreover why he told Carol Dennis when he was against us, why he told her that no one could come and go from Jonestown without him being informed by a CIA agent here. We will demand and see that we get those answers. If not, we will turn him over to the authorities. But don't say anything about that. They will happily agree with us. It's good to be in an environment, a socialist environment, that's not afraid to stand up to CIA agents. Now remember, you don't speak to strangers other than to say hello and goodbye. If I bring the person to you, I'll rehearse you what to say beforehand. We must still be mindful that he might be a double agent and he might try to contact some agent in our midst. So everyone is to watch him all the time. Smile, be friendly, but just keep an eye on him.
Mazer encouraged Jones to get as many guns into Jonestown as possible and be ready for anything. Jones took this to heart, ordering more guns to be illegally moved into Jonestown and adding more security around the settlement. After the massacre, a flyer was found printed by the People's Temple stating that Mazer worked for Interpol. No one will ever really know Joseph Mazer's affiliations or why he would cause such a panic in the already unhinged mind of Jim Jones.
Togetherness. Socialism. One for all and all for one. If we had to spend less time watching folk and more people would work on their own initiative, look what we're doing now. Look what I did by giving my body. Jesus Christ. So it's just a dime. Honey, a dime's a dime. You don't know how many pills those dimes bought. Why in the hell is it? Why in the hell is it you give us trouble? Why? I didn't want to live, much less fuck some old white bitch.
Because of Jim Jones's irrational behavior and the degenerating conditions in Jonestown, members of the inner circle were beginning to flee.
I wouldn't hurt you for nothing, man, really. You only want to know the truth. And I'm not saying it because I'm afraid. You know that I'm not afraid of anything, but hey, man, you're like my brother. And I'm not out to hurt you. Well, I got to stay here until I get my dental work completed, man. I'm trying to hustle up money now to get it done. I'm going to have to go into L.A. and maybe I can do some body work there until I can get it done. I am nobody's traitor. I time, wherever I am, you contact me, whether it's financially or any other kind of way.
But let me understand this.
What's that?
You're messing with what I love dearly.
Hey, man,
you're messing with this principle, with this cause, with everything that we stand for here.
Yeah, I mean,
you're making a complete ass of yourself in the meantime.
I don't want to come back, really. I don't feel up to it. I don't know, man, but anyway, I'm not against you, none of you in any way. I'll do whatever I can to help you.
I do think that you ought to consider communicating what sorrow you have to Father, really, because indeed, you've insulted him more than you've insulted me or anyone else.
I consulted him, huh?
You've insulted him.
In the last few months of Jonestown, many of those who left knew some of the People's Temple's biggest and most damning secrets. A Jonestown defector from the inner circle filed an affidavit spelling out the morbid details of the suicide drills. Yet another defector knew where all the money was. As time went on, several ex-People's Temple members spoke with the press and the police.
I am very emotionally disturbed with another traitor who has stolen our money. It only amounted to a few $1,000s, but I am disturbed, and that's what caused my heart attack. Someone in the States, and I'll get every last damn one of them. I want to tell you, every last damn one of them will die. They will die. I declare unto you, I will not stop until every last one of them is dead, and I'm a long way from death. Even though I was 3 minutes dead, I'm a long way from dead.
Jim Jones' worst fears had come true. His followers, once loyal and blindly faithful, now questioned his power and divinity. As disillusionment set in, Jones's fantasy of relocating the community to Russia became an obsession.
So happy to have you with us, comrade. Comrade, 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 comrade. You hear? Don't say brother, say comrade. How many will say comrade now? Comrade. So everybody say comrade.
Every day over the loudspeaker, Jones would remind the community of the evils taking place in America while glorifying the Soviet Union. Jones talked about transferring the People's Temple funds to Soviet banks. He saw the USSR as Jonestown's last hope for survival.
In 1981, everything will have changed. You will see, you will see, you will see.
I love you very much. Think now as you go down the path, please, on healings, blessings, protections. Father cares. Father cares. Good night, my darling. Good night, comrade. Good night, comrade.
Says no to your kind.
For the first time, hundreds of guests have come through here in the name of socialism. Hundreds of guests, but for the first time, and now I give you without further ado the consular and the chief of the press department of the embassy of the USSR of Guyana, so proudly, Fyodor Timofeyev. Will you come forward?
This gentleman said something that I cannot quote here. It gave me more peace than ever before. I know after I heard his words, I didn't need to worry about my family, Jonestown, anymore.
Your family have died for America and its lies all your life, you have been deprived.
The Soviet Union was suspicious of the People's Temple, as they had originated from a religious organization. It could take years to negotiate the relocation of the community, and Jones knew that time was running out. The Concerned Relatives group had finally gotten the attention of Congress. Congressman Leo Ryan made a career of fighting social injustice with a particular focus on CIA covert activities and New Age religions, otherwise known as cults. A close personal friend of Leo Ryan's son had joined People's Temple. 3 days after deciding to defect, his body was found crushed under a train. Leo Ryan decided to lead a fact-finding mission into Jonestown, armed only with his congressional shield and several members of the press.
Here comes this man into our community, and we face them coming in secretly, some of them coming in that we know on plane, commercial plane, which will be easier to handle. Some coming in secretly, some may be coming in at night. Everyone needs to be where they belong, day or night, because these are serious people. They have turned so bad that they say, we are communist, we are degenerate, we are against Christ, and we have to kill some of them, and even some of the children. It's worthwhile to save some other children. It makes no difference how many we have to kill. We will kill to destroy. And if it provokes them to kill each other, we will do that. These people intend to do anything possible to destroy. They've convinced themselves of a lie. They're filled with hate. They say, I initiate people here. Every male I have to screw, and every female I screw, and that we cut up people, kill them, bury them, and eat them. They tell all kinds of vicious lies, anything that fits the purpose. Babies have been burned alive. They don't mind telling any kind of lie, and they feast on lies. Each one of them feasting on lies. You wouldn't believe the hate. They make up stories about what we are supposed to do so that they can justify what they will do. We're supposed to cut up babies, so when they come in here, they're cut up babies. You don't know them.
Jones and his followers rallied against the inquiry, but it had little effect on Leo Ryan's efforts to visit the compound and interview Jonestown residents. He wanted to get a feel for their mental state and report his findings back to the concerned relatives.
I don't know where he went to school, I don't know anything about him. There's no way we're going to win if we can't win for losing. If he comes out here, he'll say we're brainwashed. Or we're spaced out, our eyes look extended, and they probably will, because we to look at him, it'll take a bit of extending to do that. So I don't think you can win with these sons of bitches. And I'm 47 years. I've been running from folk for 47 years, only for others. I'm going to shoot somebody in the ass like him so bad, so long. I'm not passing this opportunity up. Now, if they come in on their own risk. That's what I figure.
In Jonestown, the realization that an American congressman would soon be invading their lives had created an atmosphere of chaotic readiness. The residents of Jonestown were quizzed for hours about what they would tell reporters.
When they refer to me, what would you call me?
Jim.
Pass. What would you find wrong with this place?
I don't find anything wrong. I've had more opportunities here than it's a fantastic place. There's no.
You might say before I came into this church, I was wasting my life on drugs and that sort of thing, something like that. Haven't had any need for drugs and haven't committed a crime of any kind since I got in the church because my life is fulfilled. It's fulfilled with happiness. Everybody cares for everyone. You got the idea? Right. Little ideas. Pass.
What do you call this place?
We call it Jonestown.
That's right, say we. Good. And you never say family. Just say. I'm asking you, what about the weather, dear? How's the weather out here at Jonestown? I want to know about how the weather is.
The weather is beautiful out here.
It is? What kind of weather you got? I know beautiful. What the hell's beautiful mean? I'm going to talk like a reporter could talk.
The weather is beautiful.
You won't say that. What do you mean, man? What do you mean, madam, the weather's beautiful? What's that mean?
It's always nice and warm. It's never cold.
Well, that's fair. You see, you say that. What are your political beliefs?
I don't have no beliefs.
You don't have any beliefs at all? You have no beliefs at all, woman? You should avoid the reporters like a plague, honey, because you don't think well on your feet. You just say hi. And some of you out there are still with me. You never nod your head. You never smile. You don't do shit. Where are you?
For discipline, what do we do in Jonestown?
We, extra privileges like shows and...
Say that they just some treats. No, I wouldn't know. We don't deny treats. No, we don't deny treats. Never. We never have, and so we don't say that. They would never do it in the term of denial of treats. Say, in fact, in some of the younger people, the way of discipline is they like to work so much that we set them aside and watch others work or do their classwork, and that seems to have a greater effect on them than if we would have some other form of the old antiquated, the old ideas of punishment. Understand?
Yes.
Pass.
Thank you.
Don't ever refer to Promised Land or Freedom Land, by the way. Have you ever been sick while you've been here?
No, I've been in perfect health ever since the day I arrived.
Have you gained weight or lost weight?
I've gained weight.
I see. All right, pass. What are common complaints that you hear in this community?
I don't hear any complaints. All I hear are praises of our being able to be here in Guyana. I like it here very much. My family's here with me, and I appreciate being here.
What kind of antisocial behavior do you have in this community?
We have very little antisocial behavior. None, as far as I know of.
You mean to tell me, madam, you don't have any antisocial behavior at all? Everybody's perfect here. There's no acting out at all?
We have squabbles between children and...
Oh, you mean to get in fights?
No. I don't know.
No, that's all right, but just be more relaxed. Don't let them get your nerve. Were you promised that you'd be given help financially from the community of the church to return if you wish to return when you came here?
Yes, if I did, yes.
Oh. No, you say, I got my own money, I've got money back there. Some can say, I got money in the account back there. If I want to, I can draw on it. But I never promised that, and that would be a terrible thing to say because I'd put us under a great deal of burden. And that's an error. I'm going to have to give you an extra class for that, okay?
Thanks.
That's a great error. Don't make that error. You hear? How do you feel about the USA, sir?
Oh, I feel it's all right to those who want to be there.
That's good enough. That's a good answer. Pass.
Thank you, Jim.
Congressman Leo Ryan, along with members of the Concerned Relatives Group, flew to Georgetown, Guyana on November 14, 1978. They brought an entourage of press with them. Jim Jones had always feared the press, and he saw this as a direct threat to his leadership. If any little thing was strange or out of place, the world would hear about it. Jones would be imprisoned and the organization liquidated. In the last days of Jonestown, the people, exhausted by long white nights, prepared for Leo Ryan's arrival. Jones had a terrible fever, and he slurred his words badly, ranting orders and warnings over the loudspeaker.
died between us and our own people. No internal struggle. I'm very alert, and I'll be able to handle the situation when the time comes. I love you. If anything goes wrong, I love you. Know that you've never been loved so much, not 1/10 so much as I love you now.
On the next episode of Transmissions from Jonestown.
It is written that ye are gods. I'm a god and you're a god.
We don't know exactly when the people will be coming, but we are united. We know that what we're doing here is beautiful, don't we?
Our people running scared around here. I can smell it in the damned atmosphere. They're running scared. So if you want to see your congressman tomorrow, stick around. He may come in. I don't know how long he'll stay, and I don't know what necessarily will take place in what kind of sequential arrangement. But I can assure you that if he stays long enough for tea, he's going to regret it.
The Attention Span Recovery Project would like to thank the Jonestown Institute and the anonymous contributors. If you have any questions or comments about this program, you can contact us at radiojonestown@gmail.com or follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Radio Jonestown. End transmission.
Yeah, is Mr. Joe Mazer in? Well, I'd rather just talk to him if possible. Hello, Mr. Mazer? I've got a problem and I was just wondering if you could possibly help me with it. I've been a member of People's Temple and my children have been sent to Guyana. I want to get them back, and I'd like to know if there's any way that you could help me, or that you could possibly recommend somebody.